you would never tell your kids, oh, just give up.
Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
never do that. You would never tell your kids. You would do whatever it takes to have your kid be a success story. You
I
know,
hear we hear it all the time, right? It is true. That's so true that you made that point about kids. We'll do everything to show us their kids the right way. So why is it so hard for us to do the right way? Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Brave Today podcast. The show is going to encourage, challenge, maybe even provoke you to step outside your comfort zone and take more action to better improve yourself and your health. I'm your host, Mark Avens, and in this crazy upside down world keeps pushing you and me and people like my good coaches here to become soft and weak and sicker and unhealthy or more dependent than ever. We're just going to say no. That's pretty much it. The goal and intent is to help you navigate how to say no, so you say yes to you so you can be braver today than you were yesterday. And this is a episode of Coach's Corner. So I'm not going to go into all the different types of shows that we do. We're just going to jump right in. Welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. Hey, coaches. Good morning, bright and early.
Morning.
good morning. I don't know if you can hear the train in the background, but I live about half a mile from a train and perfect timing.
That's all right. We do too. We actually saw one walking yesterday. We saw one going by, and we had just crossed the tracks where the trail is. We're about a quarter mile, but it's so slow and so quiet. They go by, and they only go by twice a day. So it's the second time during the day when they go by. But we had just walked across, and Nicole was like, "How come we didn't hear it?" Because it was pretty close when we turned on the trail to when it came by, and we looked. And I said, because it goes so slow, and it's just one of those. I don't know if it has coal in it, but it's just one of those container ones, but they're like the same exact container, and they're about maybe 20 of them, and that's it. It's never anything different. Anyway, I used to live near a railroad that was so close to our old house in Long Island. Long Island Railroad was right there, and it'd go by so fast, and it would shake the windows in the house. And we were just used to it. That was just part of the deal from living in the house. That was it. Joanne, do you have railroad tracks near you?
I don't. No,
No.
we don't have one near us.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So with Coach's Corner, you guys listen. If you haven't watched, our coaches got together a while back, and they started doing a review of our live trainings that we do on Tuesday night. So for those of you, the coaches here work with our team and our Brave coaching program here, and they actually help men and women like you trying to get their bodies and their health back in order, losing weight, getting in shape, changing habits, and we do a training every Tuesday, for the most part, every single Tuesday night. So this is recorded on Wednesday morning. You probably will get this in a couple of days. But we go over training and skill sets, how to navigate through, how to not just navigate, but like the skill set on how to get through a holiday weekend like Easter, or to get through, when you're stressed out, or when you don't have time because your lives are just so hectic and busy and all those types of things. And last night we had a training. We do something relatively new, which is we used to call it OMG. Now it's OMH, but we kind of turned it into a little bit of a hot seats. And we're going to talk to you and give you a debriefing on that, just kind of overview where we talked about the importance of habits and building goals and setting big goals. So let's jump in. Let's give maybe first impressions, any kind of aha moments from last night for you guys.
Well, I noticed that it was like a lot of us were 50-50 on our goals that we had set. Like one goal we crushed, which was 75 hard. So you can tell where our focuses were. And it was like the other goal was like the struggle bus goal. And there was a lot of us that fit that category. And that's one of the things that I thought about throughout last night. And like, I really need to figure out what I can do and what, not only set a big goal for this next 90 days, but don't let it fall off when I've completed it, because that was my aha takeaway moment. Is it really a one goal? Is it really a goal that you mastered? If the second you're no longer focused on it, you let it fall to the wayside?
Kind of like when you get up in the morning and brush your teeth, and you decide, okay, I hit that goal. I did it for 30 days. I'm not going to brush my teeth anymore. That would not be good for anybody, pretty much, right? Yeah. So,
Exactly.
or anything else, take a shower, I'm going to set that goal to take a shower every day after a workout. I'm just going to forget about it. That wouldn't go over well in the family. No way. How about for you, Joanne?
To me, it seemed like if it was goal related or habit related, there was the goal related one was more weighted and they took more caution with that one.
Yeah.
And that's the one they tend to achieve if they achieved one of them. And then the habit kind of fell off a little bit. And so I think they took more note of a goal rather than a habit, than treating them kind of the same and going for one or the other differently. Go for them the same way you would go for the other one. If it's a goal, go for it. If it's a habit, go for it. Don't just let one fall. So that's what I noticed.
Yeah, and I agree kind of with all what you said, because I did, as far as the 75 hard, which a number of people in our program, it's not a requirement. I mentioned that actually last night. It wasn't, and I mentioned it in our interview with Rachel, who crushed it, and that actually is coming out today. I believe it's already posted. So we'll have her episode sharing how she leveled up and has been working with us for a year now and just crushed all of her goals and stuff and is doing so well and inspiring others as well, which is great. But yeah, I think sometimes maybe like we know maybe a habit, like say, for instance, if it's sweets or if it's, a habit of having the TV on late at night before you go to bed or spending too much time it can be a lot of different things. It's not just not eating any vegetables, something like that, right? Like the goals are a little bit easier. I think we tend to achieve those fitness goals a little easier as well, right? Like, hey, I can get in my steps, right? So if I push myself, I can get it done. But if I'm trying to stay away from the TV at night, that's really hard to do. Or if I'm trying to stay away from the sweets, or if I'm trying to stop biting my nails, those types of things, it's just, those are the habits that tend to just kind of, they get pushed to the side, I guess, if more. So to me, I always think of like, I have to create goals around my habit. I was thinking that last night, instead of just having separate things. I need to create, how am I going to achieve a specific habit for this next quarter to improve? Doesn't mean it's going to be solved, but it means to improve. How am I going to work on this better? Well, I got to set some specific goals attached to those habits, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And how about with in regards to last night and then response? We had a good group on there last night. I kind of shared a little bit more on the value of having a skill set, but also getting the skills and then actually using the skills that you learn instead of just listening to the skills, and kind of talked about, I just shared about how I'm going through the book of Proverbs. And the first step in the first chapter is about wisdom, and the beginning of knowledge and wisdom. But then also applying that to actually doing it, right? Instead of it just hearing about it. And I kind of shared about how that relates to going to church on Sunday doesn't make you any more of a Christian than you just being a Christian, right? And I said something funny about it, but I think it's true, right? Like it's the whole faith without works. It's kind of like you can have, all the trust and faith in your coach and your program and your work, but if you don't do the work, like you won't progress. You won't get better. It'll be you can probably get a little better if you do the work, if you take action on the things you need to do. But the only way you're going to do that is you actually first have to get the skill set and the knowledge to know what to do, which we have that mapped out for our students, but then to actually wake up and do it when you don't want to do it, right? I think that was something we talked about last night too, is so maybe we can share in that response, because I think that's a roadblock that we see happen a lot when people just don't want to do it. They just don't want to go out and work out. They just don't want to eat more vegetables. They just have a hard time taking time out of the day for themselves because they're so busy in their lives and their work and their business. So what are maybe some ways, like we talked about a little bit last night, what do you think and can share to help with people? Because I'm sure not just our clients, but I'm sure there's people listening that struggle in that department. So what are maybe some strategies or helpful tips that you guys have used, or maybe you've used with our clients as well, that have helped get them through that?
For me, what helped me was I noticed the same thing, kind of struggling when I first started, saying, the weather is nasty. I don't really want to go outside for a walk. I really just don't. But I started to think, well, I came in here for a reason. Why did I come in here? Brought me right back to my why. Why do I want this for myself, for my family? And I started putting that in the forefront of my mind. I put stickies in my mirror in the bathroom, reminding me of why I'm doing this. And it just gave me a jolt, a kick in the pants to just get out there and do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
that's really good. Definitely works. Have that why in front of you. How about for you, Jen?
One of the things that I can remember, especially in the early start of the program, I felt like I couldn't do everything. I can't do this. I can't run in place. I can't. And it was, I can't. And I had to rechange my thinking, like dial it into a different channel. And I had to say, well, okay, so I can't run in place. I can march in place. And I hear even still today, people will talk about, well, I have to modify all the exercises. Okay, great. You're still moving. And that's one of the things that helps. If you can't, okay, you can't exercise for 45 minutes straight. Can you exercise for 5 minutes straight? And then work your way up to, and the only reason I say 45 minutes is because on 75 hard, we had to do two 45-minute exercises. And I remember in the beginning, the 15-minute exercises that you had given me were like, at the end of that, I was like, I didn't realize how out of shape I was, because it was for only 15 minutes. That should be no problem. Well, by the end of 15 minutes, I had jelly legs and hard breathing, and went, oh, okay, so I really am out of shape. I mean, I saw it in the mirror. That's why I got involved in the program, but it doesn't register with you how bad off you've really let yourself go. So bottom line is stop focusing on what you can't do and start focusing on what you can do. And even if you have to modify every single thing that you do, okay, it's pouring down rain outside and you can't get your walk outside. Okay, then you get your walk in the house and you get followed around by your dogs because you're doing laps around your kitchen island, just to get movement in. We got to stop allowing ourselves to focus on the can't and start focusing on what we can do.
I love what you said. We got to stop focusing on what we can't do and focus on what we can do. And the only way to do that is just to do.
And you start noticing you get more in the can, like if you have the where you draw the little T thing and you write things you can do, things you can't.
Yeah.
The more things you try and the more effort you put into your whatever you're trying to achieve, you'll notice that your can column will build up faster than your cannot column, because you're always putting forth an effort, like you're shifting things over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just had a little epiphany about that. It could be something we can have our students do as a little work for them, is to, when they come in, as things they say they can't do, and then things they say they can do now, and then try that early on. And then when they're 3 months down the road or 6 months, all right, things you can do now versus the things you can't do. That would be interesting. That could be a little workshop we could do maybe as one of the trainings. Good stuff. How about for you, Joanne?
Yeah, same thing. Kind of have a lot of people tell me that can't do it. They just can't do it. So we have to figure out a way to say, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And every time I meet with them, I say, okay, what can you do now that you couldn't do last time we talked?
Yeah.
What's improved? I have a lot of people say they just can't eat vegetables. They can't do it.
Yes.
Drink them, then. Drink them.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, do you like smoothies? Yeah. Put a leafy green in your smoothie and you can't taste it. Now you're tricking yourself.
Do you like carrot cake? No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
I love carrot.
I do too, yes. Oh, I had some carrot cake this weekend. Does that count for my vegetables? Oh my God.
I know. But before you know it, once they start doing that,
yeah,
they start wanting to put a little vegetables on their plate, and they say, oh, well, this isn't too bad. I say, okay, try something else. You have to keep trying it until you find what you really can eat. And then you build on what you can eat, because your taste will change as you eat more vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a good thing that I tell a lot of people just getting started when they say, well, how do you get vegetables in for breakfast? I explain to them that Americans are the only ones that sit down and eat cereal for breakfast. If you go to other countries, they literally do like a charcuterie board type deal for breakfast where they're eating a little bit of fruit and a little bit of vegetables and a little piece of bread, and then they go about their business. They don't eat like we do. Americans, we are so wasteful with how much food we put into our faces. It's ridiculous. But there's nothing that says there's a specific thing you should eat for each meal, as far as, oh, well, it's breakfast, I have to have eggs and bacon. No, you don't. You could literally have a salad for breakfast if you wanted to, or you can have some, like a little vegetable stir fry type deal with a little protein in it. There's nothing that says leftover dinner from the night before you can have for breakfast in the morning. There's nothing that says you have to have cereal or eggs and bacon or whatever. So that's,
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to the habit we talked about earlier on. If that was a habit you grew up in your house and you had that for breakfast every morning, you had cereal there, and there was 6, 7, 8 boxes of cereal, that's what mom gave you to eat when you were a kid growing up before school. They're not habits you're going to break. They're just habits you can replace, and you can do it at any age. And no matter what you have behind you, you can improve. The challenge and problem for most is that, and we talked about this, the sliding scale keeps going in the wrong direction for people. The size of our food, the amount of our portions, you go out to eat. I mean, fortunately, going out to eat is getting so expensive now, and just food in general. I think people are going to be forced to some extent, not saying, they can't necessarily afford food, but maybe thinking twice before going out to get something that's going to be very, very caloric dense, and that's going to get them in trouble and put on weight, versus making some food at home or being a little bit more frugal, being more cost conscious. We talked about that. We had a couple of trainings ago talking about how inexpensive it really can be if you actually you just start to learn a skill set of how to be a better consumer when you're buying groceries and things like that, right? Even healthy groceries and produce and meat and all those types of things, which, it's expensive, but is it as expensive as having to go to the doctor and being put on medication or needing surgery? Not at all, not nearly. Is it as expensive as taking years off your life? Not at all. It's in my opinion, that's way more expensive, is to lose years off your life, or lose your life because you can't do it because you're so out of shape and unhealthy and unfit, and your why is so far away, so far gone. You'll never be able to get down on the ground with your grandchildren. You'll never be able to do the fun things with your kids and your family, you'll never want to be in a picture ever again. Like, to me, that's far more costly. We did talk about that. I'd love to hear what you thought when I talked about the sliding scale, or the curve, if you will, of how hard it is. Because the reality is, I believe it's so hard because there's so many more people that are now, over the years, and in my lifetime, your guys, like, we're all about the same age, is in our lifetime, we see that there's so many more people that are going in the other direction. We see other people that are just so much more overweight. Like, overweight used to be 20 pounds overweight. Now some people don't even consider themselves overweight when they have 30 or 40 pounds. Because why? Because there's people that are 80 and 100 and 150 pounds overweight. And they, again, people just, it's kind of like a habit. You kind of get used to living bigger, because more people in this country are living bigger because our sizes are bigger, we're less active, all that. But I'd love to hear your take on that as well, just when we talked about it last night.
Yeah. I've had people tell me, well, it's so expensive to buy the healthier foods. I can't afford that. I have to eat what I can afford. I'm like, have you even noticed the prices? If you go through a drive-through fast food restaurant now, how much they've gone up?
Yeah.
It's not cheap anymore to eat unhealthy.
Yeah.
So
so true.
Why not go ahead and spend more money to eat healthy and cut back on some of those medical bills, because you're eating healthy. Now you don't have the problems that you're used to because you're eating healthy. The blood levels are going down and getting back to normal. Everything's normalizing and you're feeling better and you're doing well, versus when you're eating all that less expensive, unhealthy food that's driving up medical costs, because now you feel awful and you're having diabetes and you're having all these other issues.
Depression, anxiety. Yeah.
Exactly.
high cholesterol, all those things. And then it makes you
Exactly.
stressed out. What do people do when they stress out? What do
They
they do?
eat.
They
They
eat
eat.
more. They stuff their face more.
That
Yeah,
they eat.
it's not
But
not to make a joke about it, but it is a vicious cycle, right? The bottom line is it's a vicious cycle. I fully believe in the medical, and my wife's a nurse practitioner, and she knows how I feel about this. And I truly believe healthy people don't make medical and pharmaceutical companies any money, right? So whatever they're going to do, or they're going to own, like if you look at the top of everything, and they're all kind of controlled by a handful of people, right? And unfortunately, if they had produce and fruits and vegetables, well, if they made that cheaper and they made the other stuff more expensive, then people would get healthier. But that's not the case, right? Or if they make it easy in marketing and they do so much to push, like, think about like Flintstone vitamins. I remember the Flintstone vitamins back, like it's filled with coloring, food coloring and garbage and artificial stuff. And I remember because my mom was definitely like, she was way ahead of the curve in that when I grew up, because I remember all my friends, I'd go to their house because the Flintstone vitamins tasted like candy, where she was giving us stuff that was like, it was death. It was so disgusting. It didn't have any taste and you had to eat it. I don't even remember what it was. I think because I tried to avoid it at all costs. But I remember those type of things. But that's just business. It's making money. And unfortunately, companies don't make money off of healthy people. Even this company, like even my coaching would not exist if there was more healthier people out there. The reality is it still exists, and I continue to do it because there's more and more people that are unhealthy or overweight and really not living up to I believe what God has actually placed them in this world to be, not to sit back on the sidelines and not participate in life and hide and cower and not be a part of their families and not be their best in their workplace and not, all of those things considered. That's kind of the driving force behind our Brave coaching program. And the reality is it requires people to be brave enough to see that, right? And that's kind of our job, to help people see that, but not just to see it, then to actually take action. What about you, Jen?
Well, I feel like we've been conditioned to believe that it's too expensive to eat healthy.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of that.
Yeah, me
Totally
too.
conditioned. That, oh, you can buy, here's an example. You could buy, 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese for $1. Oh, but if I went to the produce section, it was going to cost me essentially 2 apples for $1. We're talking years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that mindset stayed in my head, through the last 20 years. And now, guess what? We just happened to go through in the grocery store this past weekend. It's $1 for macaroni and cheese. I
Still.
was shocked. $1 for one thing of macaroni and cheese. And then I can go and I can get 3 apples for $1 now. So it has changed. But because we have been pre-programmed to believe that shopping in the produce section and shopping in the meat section is, bad for you because it's so expensive, it's bad for your pocket. You're thinking, oh, we can't do that. But there's other ways you can shop now. And like, I just learned something from one of our clients, that when you go to the farmer's market, sometimes if you go and look into their ugly basket, where it's stuff that, it doesn't look as pristine and cute. It maybe has, a scratch on it, or,
Not polished.
Yeah, it's not beautiful. It's, or you probably have to use it that day or the next day. You can get a whole bag of produce for pennies compared to buying their fresh produce. But even their fresh produce at farmers markets nowadays, that's organic or closer to organic than what you're getting in the grocery store, and you're paying the same price, because the prices in the grocery store have gone up, and we just don't even realize that we've literally, every time you go to the grocery store every week, they're adding another couple of bucks to your grocery bill, and you don't even see it because everybody pays with plastic now, so they don't see that they're counting out bills anymore or something like that. So basically what they've done is they've scared you away from the healthy food and then raised the price of the garbage, and you're willing to pay, 50, 60, 70% more than you were paying 10 years ago for garbage.
Yeah.
And in all actuality, I literally sat down and did the math for that training and found out there's nowhere that you can get a good healthy meal or even a disgusting meal for $2.50 a person. For $10, you can feed your whole family of 4.
Yeah.
Healthy.
Yes.
But you can't even buy one Chick-fil-A meal for that. Even Chick-fil-A, everybody loves Chick-fil-A. Or at this point, I don't know the prices of McDonald's, but it's
Well,
my
I hear all
understanding.
the prices are going up, but the problem, I think the problem underlying for that too, that I've seen, at least from my investigating, kind of looking behind the curtain, is that they're also really making it hard for farmers to stick around too. You know, unless you have like your own farm. But I do see that that's been. I mean, there right now. I think there was something I just read. I don't. This is maybe more speculative, but I believe there was some chicken farm recently. They had to remove a whole bunch. They had to eliminate one of the biggest chicken farms, not the farms, all the chickens, because of either salmonella or maybe it's cows. I can't remember. This is just like yesterday, to be honest with you. But you see all these fires happening and all this stuff, and I don't whether it's intentional or not. It's not what I'm here to talk about. Just more that I think they're making it harder for the local farmers and farmers markets and things like that to exist, because it's taking away from their business, right? From grocery store companies and the companies that actually put their products inside of groceries and ship them overseas, meat overseas, vegetables. Like, you see all the stuff. It's picked halfway before it's not even ripe. And who knows what they're putting on those in other countries before they get shipped over here. So that's a hard thing. I know we kind of went a little bit sideways on this, just more on the habits, but it is something that we've developed, as a habit, and I do believe it's conditioned. I agree with you too, Jen. That is something that we've been conditioned to believe. And I maybe call it a little bit of wisdom, call it just, now that I'm in my 50s, I've seen enough and been around enough and heard a lot of people that have said the same thing, like it's too expensive, and I think that's a habit that you have in yourself. But I think to be around other people to show you how it's a skill set. Well, how can I make it? Well, we showed them a couple of weeks ago how you can make dinner for 4 people and it'd be under $10-15, right? Versus going out to Chick-fil-A. The problem is we're so lazy because of convenience, right? I really believe that convenience is truly the most inconvenient thing for people.
Absolutely.
We talked about that with working out, right? Remember, we talked about, well, let's kind of transition, because I want to talk about the inconvenient thing. And we had one of our clients that said, it's hard when the weather is bad to go outside. And if you guys remember, because it was just last night, but do you remember what we talked about and what I said as far as the fulfillment of doing things when they're hard? And you guys know from doing 75 hard. So let's maybe talk about that just for a couple of minutes and then we'll wrap it up. Share your experience when you, like what we talked about with that, and as far as doing hard, whether it's 75 hard or doing the program, and doing things when you don't like and you don't want to do them and you're not motivated to do them.
Well, I can speak on the inclement weather. When we did January 6th and did the 12-hour walk, that was my first experience with the cold. And I am not a cold weather girl. I do not like it at all. And, I'd posted pictures. I was very bundled up and I had walked all the way out as far as I was going to go. And I went to this little, it's like an RV park here near that lake where I've been doing the hiking and stuff. So I'd walked all the way out there and I was walking through the drive-through gate because I didn't know if there was any other way in, and asked the guy, do I have to pay to go into the park on foot? And he was like, no, it's not. It's, it's the closed time of year. It's not the exciting time of year. At January 6th, nobody's going to the lake, just so you know. And he was like, what are you doing? And I said, I was going for a walk. And I know we're not supposed to talk to people, but when you actually have to make a transaction, you kind of have to talk to people. So, and he was like, well, where'd you walk from? And I gave him where I'd walk from. And he looked at me like, a third eye was right here in the center of my head because it didn't make sense to him. But it was cold. It was biting cold that day. The wind was horrible. And then here I was thinking, oh, I'm going to sit down and have lunch right on the lake. This will be pretty. It was cold. it was so cold. My little tuna packet, I was shaking trying to eat my tuna packet. But all in all, I was proud of myself when I got to the end of the day and it was time to come home. And I was proud of myself for making it through all that. Now, granted, I climbed into probably the hottest bath I've ever taken in my entire life because it was cold. But you do feel a sense of accomplishment. Like I did that. I was out there walking in that weather, when nobody else was on. No, there was nobody. I didn't see. The only other thing I really saw was this weird wild cat, because it was at the time of day where that happens.
Yeah.
When you walk away from the towns and you're going to come across some wild animals. It didn't bother me. I didn't bother it, but that was pretty much all I really saw. I didn't see anybody else walking. There wasn't a lot going on. Just me,
You
myself, and
did
I.
it. You did
Yep.
it, and you survived. You lived, and and that's. I think I don't. What about Joanne? Do you think the same as far as share what you kind of when you
Yeah.
don't want to do things but you did it anyway?
Yeah. I have been out walking, pushing myself early in the mornings, and I had a neighbor come out and say, "Are you absolutely out of your mind? It is 5:30 in the morning. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm exercising. I'm going out for a walk." It's, do I want to be out here when it's 32 degrees or 24 degrees at 5:30 in the morning? No. But I'm doing hard things. I'm pushing myself. It makes me feel good inside and out. I feel so much better after I do this. The biggest example was doing 75 hard the first time. And it's such a mental toughness program. And it's not as much a physical one, but when you have to push yourself to do all of those things and check them off and make sure you're getting it done and not miss anything, it's really not easy to get through it all, because there are lots of times you don't want to do it. And when you push yourself to do it and you're doing those hard things, you get mental clarity, you get a satisfaction of saying, "Hey, I did that. I did that. I didn't let myself quit and not do it because it was hard. I did it."
Yeah, and for the people that are listening that maybe have never done anything hard before, as far as like physically or maybe is you got to start somewhere. These guys didn't, none of us really started doing something like a 75 hard, which, if you miss a day or you miss one thing on your list for the day, you have to start over. So it's almost a push because you have to start over or you won't be able to complete it. And I think it's non-negotiable, right? And it's kind of like, imagine if you actually were sign up for a marathon, and a marathon would only let you finish if you ran the whole thing, right? So say you ran, it doesn't matter how fast, you just have to run. You can't stop, you can't take a break, you can't walk, but you had to run it. Can you imagine the difference in training that people would do for running a marathon if they knew? And then if they did stop, they'd have to start the marathon all over, right? So that's kind of the thing. So it's almost that kind of pressure, which is good pressure, right? And I honestly feel we're just too soft now. I don't think people have enough pressure. I think people have so much pressure in other areas of their lives to make more money, to be a good parent, to take care of their parents, to show up as a good mom or dad, whatever it is, like all those types of things, which it's not bad to have that kind of pressure. It's all good. But then it's almost as if they put all the pressure on themselves to achieve all these great things outside of themselves, and they just deflate the pressure. They take all the pressure off of taking care of themselves. And like, what, I'll just put myself last. I'll just go at the bottom. Oh, I'll just do that. I'll just go on that weight loss medicine. That's so hard. It's funny. And nobody celebrates that right now. It's no different than when the weight loss surgery was like the fad a few years, the last 5-10 years, where people were having extreme weight loss surgery. And now it's being on weight loss medicine, when there's celebrities now that are promoting it, and people like Oprah who are changing over from Weight Watchers over to companies like Ozempic and promoting weight. Everybody's going to fall in line. Of course, it's easier. It's so easier. Like, are you really going to trust her? Because she basically said for years and years she never did weight loss medicine and did it. And I'm not here to bash her. I'm just here to say, Like, you got to realize, how many times are you going to be fooled before you realize it's just going to be hard to get in shape? It's going to be hard to lose weight. When you realize that, can come to terms with it, it's going to be way easier to come to terms with how hard it will be to lose weight than it'll be for you to go the other direction that you've been doing the last 20 years and thinking that it's going to be easy, thinking that some weight loss gummy is going to be the tricks, thinking that having weight loss surgery is going to be so simple. You know, we all love the path of least resistance, but I believe when it comes to fitness, and we talked about getting through doing things, walking in the rain, hard things, like, you will be so much more proud of yourself, and chance are you'll probably stick with it and stay on top of your goals and your health and your fitness for the rest of your life, because you're going to be proud of yourself for getting through it. You'll be proud of yourself for completing 75 hard or a 12-hour walk, or dropping the 25 pounds, or being able to go hike with your kids without being, or go up and down a flight of steps without, being short of breath, or being able to get down on the ground and be the only grandparent, at grandparents' day at school, they get down on the carpet with your kids and read a book with them, those type of things. It's pretty simple. Like, getting in shape and being fit and having a fitness lifestyle is hard, but it's way easier than the alternative. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, there's another thing that I like when you were talking about kids and stuff like that. I started thinking about when our kids are going through school, or grandkids, because sometimes it's been a while since we've put a kid through school. So so you got to focus on your grands. And they're going into second, third, fourth grade, and they're saying, multiplication is so hard, or this is so hard. And they all say it as they, there comes a point where in their education that they go, I just can't, this is too hard, I don't understand. And what do we do as parents or grandparents? We sit down with them and we walk them through, and we show them yes, it's hard, but in a couple of weeks, this is going to be an easy skill for you. You just have to push through it. We don't tell them, oh, it's hard, I understand, so just don't worry about it. Like we would tell ourselves, oh, it's hard to walk 10,000 steps, so I'm just not going to do it. If it requires,
it's cold outside, I'm just not going to go for a walk outside because it's cold.
Yeah. Or whatever. I'm not good at doing that, so I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to be physically fit because that causes me to think outside my box, or whatever. You would never tell your kids, oh, just give up.
Yeah.
You would never do that. You would never tell your kids. You would do whatever it takes to have your kid be a success story.
Yeah. We hear it all the time, right? It is true. That's so true that you made that point about kids. We'll do everything to show us their kids the right way. So why is it so hard for us to do the right way? Oh, I'm not a good cook, I'm a terrible cook. Well, that's because you keep telling yourself you are. Have you actually ever tried to do some basic cooking? Because it's not really that hard. It isn't really hard to boil water. And even nowadays you can buy stuff, throw it in the microwave. It's so not hard. You can start light and then go from there. People, I've never was here's the one for exercise. I really was never a jock or an athlete before, so I'm not really good. Well, okay, so what? You're saying you can't walk around the block for a few thousand steps? Again, it comes down to this. It comes down to, you can have results or you can have excuses, and you can't have both. Right? It really comes down to, the hard thing is, it's so much easier to make excuses when everybody around your environment and people are in your circle, if you will, in your ecosystem, your neighborhood, your church, your friends, your family members, when they're basically making it, excuse after excuse. Oh, well, that diet didn't work for me. Oh, I did that weight loss injections for a while. That didn't work for me. Right? It's just easy to just kind of throw it out the window, and you start doing that your whole life, and you're basically going to lose. Like, there's no doubt about it.
My husband yesterday, he had sent me a like a meme, and he said, you can use this for your job, and it says, don't be upset by the results you didn't get with the work you didn't do.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I think that's a great place. I was actually thinking that when we were talking earlier, and I was trying to think of how it went, but that was great they shared. Say that one more time. We're going to finish on that.
I'm reading from my phone.
Yeah, that's all good.
Don't be upset by the results you didn't get with the work you didn't do.
That's it.
And
All it comes down to.
if you need it explained, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to change who you are, whether you're working on mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. If you don't take any steps towards that, then you're not going to change. You're going to be the exact person tomorrow as you were today, as you were yesterday. So you got to stretch. That's my word of the year. You have to stretch your mind. You have to stretch your body. You have to stretch your environment. Basically, get outside your bubble.
If you want a preferred future, if you want something better than what you have right now, and I know all of us do, people in our program do. I would say if you've listened to this throughout the entire length, you've watched this, maybe you follow us at all, you probably want something preferred than where you're at right now. And, you know, from the words of a wise man who once said, you get what you get. You also, you got to want what you want, and you got to want what that want leads to. So you can just look at what your wants have led you to this day, right? And if you're doing great, fantastic. This is great. Maybe a high five for you, a little air high five. I think if I put that up there, it'll do a little hand raise thing. And I don't know, the AI was going off last night with the thumbs up and all that stuff. If your desire is to just be mediocre and ho-hum and just live like everybody else and kind of follow the herd and stuff, that's totally cool. But I would say the majority of people that I like to surround myself are ones who want a desire. They want a preferred future. And the way to do that is to want the things that are going to help them get to a preferred future. Because what you want, but you got to want what that want leads to. Now, I like chocolate, but I know if I ate chocolate all the time, or if I ate pizza and chicken wings and drank beers and all that stuff, that would lead me to a not preferred future that I don't want to have. So I have to realize there's other things in my life that I have to make more of a priority: healthier fruits and vegetables, look at ways to make it more affordable, buying groceries, looking at farmers markets, things like that, because that's going to lead me ultimately to a desired preferred future, right? Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's it for today's show. And listen, if you like Coach's Corner, if you want to share your thoughts too, we'd love to hear. Just drop in the comments. Checking us out on YouTube, by all means. If you want to reach out, and if you have a question, we do Brave Q&A, and you can ask questions. So if you have questions about produce, about groceries, about what we talked about today as well, things hard, how to make them easier, how to get involved. If you need help, you can reach out to us. And really to help support it, all I ask, if you like it, subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button somewhere around here. Share with your friends. And if you want to stay up to date on that, you can follow us. We post this through Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the social areas. And other than that, thank you, coaches. And let's make it a great rest of the week. Appreciate you guys, and talk to you soon. Take care.